Yeah, we're finally talking about our finances, and he wants to keep me on and just keep everything the same way and not divorce me, but he's going on with his life. I don't even know how to respond to that.
Okay, so he doesn't want to divorce you,
No, he doesn't want to divorce me. Right, right.
but he
But
wants to separate and he wants to end the relationship.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's
I mean,
difficult. That's difficult to process because how can you move on? Which sounds to me like what's going on is okay, listen, we don't need to divorce. I'm going to go live my life and do what I want to do. And let's just do it that way. Well, maybe he's okay with running around without being divorced and doing whatever, getting involved with other relationships. Maybe he's okay with that, but maybe you're not, right? Maybe
no,
that
no,
goes against some of your ethics and yours, and it almost feels like you're being pushed into having to be a certain way that you don't want to be. You would much rather just
exactly,
finalize it. Why leave those
exactly.
strings connected? So if the reality is, if that's the relationship, if it's already over, if the marriage is abandoned, if he does not want anything else to do with the marriage, and it sounds like that may be the case, but I'm not sure. But if that is the case, then the marriage is abandoned. Then you would have to take every initiative to get done what you need to get done for you. If that means you had to take the initiative to file, and
Well,
you
my
get it done.
counselors, my counselors at church, they're telling me to just hold off on it. He's being mentored, but what he told me today was, oh, he didn't like the joint heirs class. He didn't like what they had to say. He's not going to return to church. It's my church. I'm the one that's been a believer most of our marriage, and he's just been,
Yeah,
hanging around. But what struck me was that, okay, then if you're saying all this, why are you saying it so irritated? If
right.
you're okay with everything, and he texted me on Sunday, which he always does this on a Sunday. He left on a Sunday, and he wants to talk on a Sunday when he knows I'm at church, and he says, would you like to meet, or would you prefer the phone? And I'm thinking, how do I answer that? It's like, I don't want to see you. You're gone. I'm
Yeah,
listening to your no contact, just leave. And it seems to be irritating because he's so used to me going after him for the
right,
past 20 years. And let's just keep working on it. Come on, stop throwing a tantrum. Let's just keep working on it. I've called him on his narcissism for a long time.
right.
I not rudely, not disrespectfully, but I just really got tired of some church members telling me, "Oh, well, you're being rude. You're supposed to be respectful to him." And I'm thinking, I couldn't hear that anymore because I
Right.
thought, you're hurling all these horrible things and obscenities. I can't even ask you, is there milk, because you fly off the handle, and
Right.
I'm supposed to be loving. I don't understand that.
Yeah, the church becomes an epic failure when it comes to helping
Oh,
people
yeah.
through very toxic, very abusive relationships. The church takes the standpoint of, well, look what Jesus went through. He was beaten and
Right.
he was
Yeah.
bruised and he had a crown of thorns put on his head and he was whipped and he died, and look, he still loved everybody. I think that is probably one of the most, excuse my language, but ass backwards way to see the
Yeah.
situation. Jesus went through what he went through because it was his purpose. It was his calling. It was his mission. God had him do that. God doesn't have us all walking into abusive relationships so we can get our asses kicked and so we can be cheated on and called names and demeaned and devalued. That's not our calling in life. And I went through this phase where I questioned that too because I was heavily involved in church. I was on the worship teams at
Yeah.
church, and when I went through narcissistic abuse, the church let me down. Not only did they let me down, but I was led to feel ashamed because the response
Yeah.
was, if they're being that mean and bad, then you're not loving them enough, Kevin.
Right.
And I'm like,
Oh, God.
are you kidding me? I tried the best I could to say, look, these people don't like my love. Like the more I love
Right.
them, the more they want to string me up by my neck. Do you understand? I don't think you understand the severity of this.
Exactly.
This is not a look. I mean, and it makes me sometimes think these pastors or churches are just idiots. Look, you cannot, if there's a crazy person waving a knife around in the middle of the street, right? No one's going to
Hmm.
go up. I mean, listen, it would take a dummy to say, you know what, that person just needs a hug. I'm going to go and
Right.
I'm going to hug that person and I'm going to show them some love. They just need love. What would Jesus do? Well, I'm going to go, just hug him, put my arms. Listen, that dude's going to get stabbed. That's all that's going to happen. And he's going to walk out of the situation stabbed, half dead, thinking, oh, I tried to love him. Yeah, you got stabbed, dummy, because love does not stop these things in this evil world we live in. It doesn't.
No.
And we need to, it can in certain situations, but if love was the answer, then we wouldn't need police officers. If love was the answer, we wouldn't need prisons, right? You follow where I'm going with this. So this idea and this mentality that love is the reason your marriage is failing. You're not loving your husband enough. It's absolute bonkers. And it's heartbreaking to hear these things. And so this is why my suggestion in this would be for you would be this. One, stop listening to what the church is saying. If your marriage has been abandoned and you don't even know at this point in time if he is in other relationships with other women or not, right? But chances are if he's abandoned the marriage, then chances are that there's a likelihood that that's going on.
Absolutely.
With this type of marriage bed defilement, it's done, right? It's very difficult to ever bridge that gap, but with the marriage being abandoned, which that's what it sounds like. He's saying, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm done. I'm out. Okay. You are now responsible to make sure that you are doing things in your life since you've been abandoned as a woman. You have to do things now in your life that are going to make you at most peace with yourself and with God. Meaning, how can you be at peace running and trying to figure out if you can have another relationship or what you should be doing while you're still married to a person who's no longer in the marriage? You know what I mean? And now that's going to cause you a lot of unpeace. And so you need to be able to justifiably take account for your own life and what the rest of your life is going to look like, since the one who is supposed to be the leader of your life has jumped ship.
Absolutely.
He's bailed. He's left you alone, right?